To KTN Sunrise Live in studio, I'm joined by Joseph Kubende, the author of In Search of Gold, a book that has already been approved for secondary school curriculum. Thank you so much for coming. It's a pleasure to have you. Welcome to KTN.
Thank you.
Well, you can start by just tell us a bit about yourself, Joseph.
Joseph Kubende is a Catholic, he's a humble man. He's a teacher, and he's a man who has gone through quite an experience. At the age of 30, I'll be turning 31 next month. I have managed to write an autobiographical text. Yeah.
Tell us a bit about the book.
In Search of Gold is a story that talks about a young person, a person who goes through life, as one of my teachers said, that I have experienced slightly more than what a person can experience, even in 3 lifetimes.
What experiences are this? I'm sure the audience at home is wondering which experiences are this?
It's quite an experience. The people who have interacted with me have had a fair share of this. Have heard this, have listened to it. Some have experienced it. It's quite an intriguing story. And it's real life.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I know I've gone through the book and I meet the character Joseph. Are you the one? Is it a story about your life experiences, or is it something, a character that you created?
Yes, Betty. Joseph, the character in this book, is actually me. And all I have said is very true. I have experienced it. I've gone through it, and I've also indicated here that whenever this story is told, it actually runs a risk of being viewed as fiction, when indeed it's not actually fiction, it's true.
Okay.
Yeah, it's real.
Tell us something about the book. Tell us about Joseph's character and the challenges he goes through.
Actually, the motivation behind my writing this story, I look at the situation today, I look at young people today and what they are taken through. And I think we need a remedy. It's not like if you have a child today who is attending preschool, you will notice that that child wakes up at 6 a.m. and that child comes back in the evening with loads of homework. The child will hardly be asleep by 9, struggling to catch up with the homework. That's too much workload for a child at the age of preschool. And I think it was part of the motivation that made me want to share this story with the world. And also, in 2008, if you are in this country, during the announcement of the results, the KCSE results, when the minister announced the results, I have about 7 young Kenyans in mind, and my heart bleeds for these young Kenyans. 5 of them got A, 2 of them got A-. They sent the village into a rhythm of celebration. 2 weeks later, the Kenya National Examination Council released a different set of results, capturing the first 5 to have got C-, and those who got A- now arrived at a D+. And they told us that those were now the authentic results. And all the Kenya National Examination Council said was, sorry, it was a computer error. In this age and time, I thought this thing was over. In December, when the minister was releasing the results for KCP, if you watched, the day after the release of the results, we were told that, sorry, the school that should have been number 1 was not actually mentioned. If you make glaring mistakes like that and you're handling a national exam, for heaven's sake, we are losing confidence in a national examiner. And once people lose confidence in an examiner, then the education standards are compromised. In the past, Betty, you will not compete with a Kenyan on a world job market. Today, that's not the case. I'm worried. And you know, we are not talking about this. The minister releases the results. We are told the following day that there was a mistake. That the children he mentioned as among the top 10 were not actually among the top 10. And we are quiet. I would like even to plead with the media to take some time off their busy Hague schedule to talk about such pertinent issues. Because those who are in the Ministry of Education, those who are in the Kenya National Examination Council, they're child handlers, because they're making decisions that will go a long way to affect the life of these generations. Okay. It's not just one generation, several of them. Yeah.
Well, those are key issues, of course, that we'll be talking about later in the interview. But as for now, I want the audience to just get a feel of In Search of Gold. I've gone through it. It's a beautiful. You've written beautifully, and you've included the aspects of the African society, our Africanness, in the book. Just tell us a bit about that. What was the inspiration behind it?
I had a feeling we are losing out on our culture, on our roots, and I thought there's something very important in our background, in our cultural background, that if it's exploited, we will live comfortably than we do today. And that's why I wanted to invite people in a very interesting way to want to look at how culture can still be appreciated even in this age and time.
And for the book, what are some of the African aspects that you have included? You've said they are there, but which ones are pronounced in the book?
I have looked at how people related together, how people lived together communally, how people shared, and how success in the village was seen as communal success, not individual like we do today. I have tried to pull the society together. I've tried to let the communities in my story relate closely. And the African culture has that. It's very strong. We relate very closely.
Okay.
Yeah.
You've mentioned quite a bit about the Africanness of the book, and also the things that the readers will expect from the book. Your life story, which you say is in Joseph's character, what are some of the challenges that he's going through in this book?
Some of the challenges is that this is a restless child. I'm bringing forth a restless child who, in one way or the other, is misunderstood by his handlers. And I am using this story to reach out to many children. I am a teacher, and I have interacted with a number of children, and I've seen on one or two occasions people misunderstand children in some way, or children also misunderstand their handlers, and that way they end up losing out, they break, they opt out of school, they turn to being rude and being ill-mannered or what have you, and then they are labeled, and they are finally on the overall seen as failures as such. So I am actually endeavoring to address the young people. I am addressing child handlers. Child handlers, I mean, beginning with the maids, the parent, the teachers, and they that are in institutions that are in a way involved with the child's upbringing.
Okay.
Yeah.
You've mentioned that you are a teacher, a high school teacher.
Yes.
These problems that you have highlighted in the book, are they things that you see on everyday occasions, even in the students that you teach?
Yes, I have interacted with them. There is an episode I have shared in this book that happened to me not so long ago. And together I was still misunderstood in that context. So I have decided to share it through this artistic piece so that many people who have gone through such incidences get to find a way they find some solace in this book. And also young children will also find solace in this book in such a way that I will be addressing issues that are related with them. They will identify with these stories because it's a real story that happens in a real Kenyan setup.
Okay. And as for the book, is it a chapter book, like one chapter deals with one issue, another chapter deals with another, or is it just a continuous flow of one story?
It's a continuous story. It is just one story with 29 episodes, all of them breathtaking. So this one story leads to another. It's developmental.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the book has been approved
Yes.
to be part of the curriculum for secondary education. Tell us about the hard work that you've put in the book. I know it's not easy coming up with such a piece.
Yeah, as a teacher, I find it difficult to push children to develop the culture of reading. Today, the children we handle are not creative. If you are asked to teach language in a secondary school or even primary school today, you will find yourself between a rock and a hard place because the children we teach today are not creative. And the reason why they're not creative is that they do not have an opportunity to interact with creative pieces in their day-to-day life. Because all a child listens to, if you listen to the music young children are listening to today, it's not creative, it's not poetic. As a teacher of literature, I'm supposed to use music to teach them poetry. But the music the young people listen to, it's not poetic. So, and again, other than that, those of you who are in the media, you have let us down in the sense that you have not encouraged these young people to listen to good language. I listen to radio, I listen to TV at times, and the language that is spoken on radio and TV, my heart bleeds. My heart bleeds for the young generation of this country, because if someone comes on national television and young children are watching and they identify that person as a role model, and this person comes on TV and says, "Natumai Christmas wako walikuwa sambamba," which language is that? And young children ape that. They will transfer that. Like a girl wrote to me in composition that when I stepped out of our house, I met a dude with 2 hot chicks. Chicks, in my understanding, are supposed to be young ones of chicken. And I am aware that when young ones of chicken that are chicks are hot, they are either cooked, boiled, or roasted. And when they're cooked, boiled, or roasted, they lose their ability to walk. So I told the girl that you have to see me, and at our appointed time, come armed with your dictionary. When the girl arrived, she looked at me as if I had dropped from the moon. She said, "Teacher, you don't know dude. A dude is a guy." And she said, and chicks, we are chicks. And a guy is a dude. And she's writing that in the context of the exam. So I'm supposed to mark a composition that's written with those things. And the influence is from the media. Because that is the language we speak. That's the language young people are copying from every time they watch TV, every time they listen to radio. That's what they carry. And the people who have let our young generation down, it's a pity that I'm not far away from that age bracket. Our Kenyan pop musicians. What they sing has nothing creative. They don't engage us in creative stories. They degenerate into hurling obscenity at us at the expense of entertainment. They are not entertaining us. They are shouting obscenity. You can't listen to that music with the people you respect.
But Joseph, what really can be done? Because we can't really alienate all these things from children, from students, because they interact with these things on a daily basis, say in school, even in school, at home, everywhere they go, friends. So what really is there anything that can really be done? Or is it something to do with when they go to school, what happens there?
It's simple. You know, when the children come to school, we labor and whip them on the correct path. They go home, they get an opportunity to watch TV. They get an opportunity to listen to radio. They fall back. They come to school, we try again. The easiest would have been that we try as much as possible to, even in the media, we give a blackout to guys who do not have a message as such, even in their singing, who don't have a story, who are not creative in their singing, who instead spend time hurling obscenity. We had a workshop recently, and after that workshop, on the last day, we were told that a Kenyan pop musician is coming to entertain us. And I thought after a long week of learning, we were going to have about 45 minutes. They said he will sing for 45 minutes. I thought we will have 45 minutes of real entertainment, of art. When that guy arrived, the first thing he did was to start instructing us to do tedious work. He told us that mikono juu, ishara, ishara wazee. So I started wondering, did they ask him to come and sing for us, or they asked him to come and take us through exercise? Ruka juu, piga nduru, and people were screaming. I stood among people who were screaming, and I was telling myself that, oh my God, I am standing amidst fools. Because none of them asked, why are we screaming? They were just screaming, wapi nduru hapa, and people scream before he sings.
So Joseph, when the students come back to you as a teacher, as a leader, as someone who's supposed to be a role model, what do you give them which is different from that, and even make sure that they follow a certain path rather than what you're talking about?
Right from Form 1, I influence children. I influence children and weigh over them, so that by the time they get to Form 3, Form 4, they are aware. When they go to a club and someone starts singing and asks them to shout, they will ask, tupige nduru ya nini? They will do that. If those who have been, I always tell children that if you have been in a class of language, then you have been taught mannerism. Then you have been taught a way of life. They who have been in my class of language do not have an opportunity. They cannot abuse another person. They relate comfortably with others. The people whose language classes did not help are the ones who abuse others. And they are dangerous people. People who are anti-style, people who are not creative are very risky, are dangerous. Dangerous in the sense that at the slightest provocation, they'll come fighting. I have a feeling in 2007 after the elections, we fought because we lacked creative resolutions to what confronted us. If we were creative, if we had a section of this country being creative, we will have come out of it.
In your own individual way, is this book creative? Does it offer what
this book
you
seeks
want
to address that? Fortunately, this book seeks to address that. And I'm very grateful. I'm happy that it's not only me who sees that. A number of people have seen that. The Ministry of Education itself has seen that. Kenya Institute of Education has seen that. That's why they're prescribing this book. They want students to listen to it. They want children to listen to it. They want to read. They want to share the story. I'm grateful because they have seen that. Then it's not a one-sided affair.
Joseph, you seem so passionate about the book, and I've actually gone through it, some few chapters, and it's really interesting. That one I have to just say. Let's just take a look at some of the chapters. And let's start with chapter 1, where it says, "The gentle steps of a tiger are not a sign of cowardice." That's on the back page. It also says, "Life's greatest risk is the fear of the unknown, yet people suffer for what they know and can't avoid." Tell us about that.
Yeah,
sounds so interesting. And
I have indicated on the back page that experiential stories record that the most dangerous animal on the planet and the most swift in attack is a tiger, yet the humility with which it makes its steps when not provoked is amazing. For sure, the gentle steps of a tiger are not a sign of cowardice. Okay. You know, if a tiger passed here, if it's not provoked, you and me will watch for it. We will say this is the most humble animal on earth. It walks with a lot of humility. If you look at its eyes, it loosens its eyes. When you look at its eyes, you will think it's the most kind animal on earth. But provoke it, it will take the shortest time to dispatch you back to your creator. So I am saying that the society, when you look at the society, the children, for example, we interact with, the young people that we deal with, the society has reached somewhere where it's pushing them against the wall. If we push masses against the wall, if we push young people against the wall, they will feel provoked. And when we provoke the young people, they will have no option. I was tempted to say that then in them we will realize that the tiger, the humble tiger, was not as humble as we thought. I am appealing to society to relook at the way we handle our children. I'm still appealing to the children to look at the way they relate with the society as a whole.
You've raised a very important issue here. You said that the society today provokes, just like the quote there, it provokes children or students to act in a certain way. What are some of these provocations?
Like what I indicated to you, that a child who is going to preschool is given a whole load of homework, and the child has to sit until 9 p.m. struggling to catch up with homework. That child has to wake up at 6 a.m. and there is a vehicle hooting. The child is taken to school. When you take a child through that, there is no child play in the life of this young Kenyan. You are pushing that child against the wall. This book seeks to address that. When my main character in this book, in the early stages, I've indicated even in class 2, we never learned. The teacher took us photographs the whole year. And whenever he will come to class, we will stand and sing praises of him. Mwalimu Nikundu. And he will ask us to sing again and again. We didn't learn. The whole year in class 2, we did not sit anyone's exam. All Cleophas Kundu will do was to come to class and ask us to sing his praise. Hakuna mwalimu kama Kundu. But we still went through school successfully. We loved school because of that. Because at the end of the day, he will tell us, go home, After he's taken us photographs, he tells us, go home and look for style. So as you sleep, you are thinking of what style, the next style you will show in school. At 5 a.m., you have woken up, not because you will be beaten when you delay to go to school, but you have woken up because you have a new style you want to show before other people get there. And when they tell you to wait for breakfast, you will tell them you want, munataka mtu aibe style yangu. You want to run to school and show your style to Mwalimu Claire for school. He made us love school. Child handlers today, at the early stages in school, do not impress the children. They don't have incentives that will make children love school. Instead, they use the whip. They tell children that you have to come to school. If you don't come to school, you'll go back and come with your parent. So a child is under duress, comes to school because there is no choice, because there is no otherwise. It's not because they love school.
Does it mean that, are you saying that one of the things which provoke, so to speak, kids or children is the one thing that's supposed to actually engage them, that is education?
Yes, yes. Education, unfortunately, instead of attracting children and engaging them responsibly, is the one that's bottling them up, is the one that's heaping content on them. They weigh heavily on the child. I go home every day and my sister's son comes home and says, Uncle Joseph, niko na homework, unisaidie. And as I go through that homework with the child, I find out that it's heavy. At one point I tell him, wachia hapa, enda ulale. Anasema, madam atakasirika, paka tu nimalize. The boy has to struggle. You see, sleep is here, but he cannot go to bed. He's struggling to catch up with it. Such a child might lose it. You will be lucky if he successfully goes through. But he may give up at one point.
Well, I think from what you're saying, even the stakeholders in the education sector should then go through in search of gold. Because, I mean, it's a problem that is not just with the teachers in the primary or secondary schools. It's actually a problem that's generating from up there, where we have the people who are actually supposed to lead us through it.
I am happy they have started addressing it. I want to pay tribute to Professor Douglas Odhiambo's task force on education. That task force has come up with recommendations that a Kenyan in his accurate mind, a straight-thinking Kenyan, would seek to implement that report in total. Because what that report does, Betty, is that it gives a child an opportunity. It gives the Kenyan child a chance to have time for child play. It gives a child an opportunity to play as he learns. The child has no choice but to love school. And they also have created room for talent development. It is very important. That task force, I think they did a good job. I do not have the luxury of knowing who the members of the task force were, but I think I have the chance of I've had the chance of reading their recommendations, and I think they have done a good job. And I'm moved. I am also happy that we passed the new constitution, because that is what provides for such. The world over, it's only in Kenya that has a system called 844. Only in Kenya, the whole world. And we don't care. However overburdening this 844 is, we have tried to live with it. And I've been going around, I've been listening to some stakeholders, and people are resistant. They want to resist change. We want to say, okay, this thing has been there, we want to live with it. They do not know the effect it has to the child today. Like when they release the results, the KCP results, children at the age of primary, Betty, were committing suicide. If children at the age of primary are committing suicide, and this book seeks to address child handlers. One day I was on Kisumu-bound matatu from Kakamega, and I sat next to a parent. I gathered this man was a father because he sat with two children, who I learned later were his children. The boy was seated on his right lap and the girl on his left lap. And then somewhere in the course of our journey, we saw a group of prisoners. These prisoners were heavily laden with luggage. They were carrying heavy loads. Frustration was written all over their face. You will see anguish with them. Ahead of them, there walked a group of policemen armed to the tooth. Behind them, another group of policemen with guns. Then the little girl on the father's lap asked, Daddy, how watu wamekosa nini? Because she read frustration on their faces. She read misery. And then the father said, Samantha, how watu walianguka mtihani? I leaned to that father and told him, you have killed that child. Because when reality one day will dawn on that child that she has failed exams, a picture of a frustrated Lord carrying heavy loads with policemen ahead and behind them is what will come to that child. She will not be left with an option but to commit suicide. That's a child handler who is releasing a careless comment that will go a long way to haunt the life of a child. So this book does not only seek to address child handlers in the sense of teachers or those who are in schools or institutions. It also seeks to address maids, parents, guardians, and any other person, or people who are in institutions like the Kenya National Examination Council, because they make decisions that go a long way to affect the child.
All right. Well, at this point, I'd like to invite your comments or questions. In studio, I'm joined by Joseph Kubende, the author of In Search of Gold, a beautiful book. We're having a great conversation about so many things that affect children today in primary school and secondary schools. Please do text in. The number is 8040. I'll be airing some of your views and questions in a bit. Now, let's move on to chapter 4. It says, there comes a time when the will of an individual spearheaded by an overwhelming majority becomes more important than that of an entire village. Tell us, expound on that.
In that chapter, I have looked at, I'm actually looking at talent. Betty, I am a product of drama. I have participated a lot in the Kenya National Schools and Colleges drama festivals, both right from my student life to now when I am a teacher. I'm still participating in that. And drama has really done a great deal in shaping the character that is me today. I would like to appreciate the Ministry of Education. It has given leeway by allowing drama in schools. And the task force, their recommendations, they give even more room for that. There's a guy called Patrick Serengo-Haemba. He's at the Ministry of Education. He's in charge of drama in this country. He is very innovative. His ideas, some of his ideas are actually run in this book. He weighs over people, and his drama curriculum, his system, the way he runs drama, is in such a way that it's so attractive. It made me follow a dream, and at that point, I have a feeling. I had a calling. I wanted to influence society in some way. I wanted to influence the thinking of our people. And the only way I could have done that was through this book. And the village, the community, or the country has its own ambitions and aspirations. And if you are strong-willed and you follow your dream, like I have done in this case, I have realized that after I wrote this, it has received acceptance. And quite a number of people have appreciated it. And I felt, when I was writing this story, I was thinking that people will appreciate it. I'm grateful it has come to pass. I was saying that there comes a time, at that point, when the will of an individual, spearheaded by an overwhelming majority, at that point, what I was going through, what the main character in this book is going through, it is not within the wishes of the community as of that time. But when this main character persistently follows that, the whole community now overwhelmingly supports him. And when they support, they discover that it was a good thing after all. But it begins with the commitment of that individual.
Joseph, please link that to our day-to-day lives with our students and our pupils in primary schools. How can you relate this specific chapter to the current situation?
People lose hope. Children lose hope. They fall out very easily. Like if they tried today and did not succeed, they will give up. I am weighing upon them to keep trying, to persevere. There is one speaker who says that if you want to succeed, follow people who have been successful and do what they did. But if you don't want to fail, follow failures and avoid what they did. You will not fail, but you will stagnate. So if you want to be successful, you follow your dream and be persistent. You don't let go. You don't lose hope. However much you're pushed, but you remain focused. Focus is the main issue here. And I have taken my main character through extremes. Extremes in the sense that these are issues that a person under normal circumstances, a child under normal circumstances, would opt for options like committing suicide, like breaking, like falling out, like turning into being rude or losing it all the same. But I haven't. And also in the foreword, I have said that in the pages of this book, you find the choices different people are called to make and the attendant consequences. I am talking about issues like I'm asking here, what is it that a restless child really needs? That what is a parent to do with a child who breaks their heart time and again? How does society handle the people she does not understand? Because there has come a time when this society does not understand its own people. The children, we don't understand our own children. You are a parent and you don't understand your child. Your child in the same breath does not understand you. It becomes very difficult for you to relate. So this book seeks to address such issues. Yes?
Let's talk about the parents' role in what you're talking about, support. When you see your child is talented in something, like you are talented in drama, what's the parents' role in that?
Yes, I am calling upon the parents, the guardian and what have you, and child handlers at large, to follow the interests of children, because that is what really encourages somebody. That's what brings out the real person. If you follow the interests of this child and support him or her in whatever he or she likes doing, then you will have built that character. That child will come out very strong. Otherwise, the kind of society we are moving into is a society that thinks, because from baby class, from preschool, you are labored, there is a lot of content. Then what you're tuning this child to is that there is no other opportunity, there is no other chance other than going through school successfully and becoming a doctor, going through successfully and becoming a lawyer, going through successfully and becoming this. They do not give room for other activities. I have no problem with going to school to become a doctor, but if it's not my calling, Betty, it will be a tall order. It will be difficult for me to get there. There is no problem in being a lawyer. If it's not my calling, again, I will not get there. And I'm happy these things are captured in the task force report on education.
Yes.
How I wish that report is implemented in total. Because if they do that, then we will have sought to help the child. Help the child in the sense that we will be encouraging them, both at home and at school. Because then the parent will also get an opportunity. Because when a child comes from home, you are a parent, and a child comes from school, and the child is heavily laden with homework. You do not have a chance to tell the child that, okay, you have some time to sing. The child is talented, is a talented musician. She or he does not have a chance to sing. As a parent, however much you want to support the child, the school weighs heavily on that. If the school gives an opportunity for that, then the child will go through it successfully.
Great.
Yeah, and the parent will also find it easy following that.
Great. Let's move on to the chapter 7. A man cannot watch his tongue unless the facial structure is changed. What's that all about?
I have a problem with people who tell others to watch their tongue. You're speaking and someone says, watch your tongue. Or you say something and a person says, watch your tongue. I am aware that the facial structure of a person does not allow, your facial structure does not allow your eyes to see your tongue, leave alone watching it. So I am encouraging people to talk Because when you speak, you bring out the pent-up emotions. A person who talks does not get emotional easily. People who keep quiet, people who confide to themselves, they are very dangerous because they break. And when they break, it's very difficult to take them back. So at one point, I've noticed in that chapter, it is through talking. It is because of relating and talking to people and the people that are around me. That talking is what liberated me. Is what got somebody to get to know that, no, these people have misunderstood this guy. Unfortunately, that was the only guy who understood me at that time. It was in high school. This guy, this is Oliver Minish. He's now the principal of Kakamega High School. He's the only person who understood me that time. And it's because I talked. He helped me. That's how I managed to go through school. And I am happy that he noticed. So I am encouraging other people. There might be people who have something, but they are not talking. They come here and keep quiet. You will not notice that they have a problem. You will not realize their strength. You will not know how to come in and help such a person. So I am encouraging people to talk and not to fear, because a man cannot watch his tongue unless the facial structure is actually changed.
Joseph, I would want us to go through all the chapters. It's really it's a captivating book, but we can't because of time. Let's just talk about, what do readers expect when they read this book? What can they leach out?
I have a feeling any reader who goes through this text will find a point to interact with. There is a reference point. I am sure when you read this book, there was a point where you identified with it in some way. So once you identify with it, then you have elevated the book to a position where it will influence you. So I have sought to influence the society. Chinua Achebe says in one of his books, Hopes and Impediments, he complains that the greatest harm perpetrated to an African by a white man is by enabling an African doubt himself. That many of us are doubt-enabled. That if today you were told that the guest speaker who was here, Betty, he is now the permanent secretary, you will say, Joseph, I talked to this morning, you are being doubt-enabled. Chinua Achebe complains about that. So if I find a place where you identify with this book, then you will have elevated this book to a level of influencing your thinking. And if you allow this book to influence your thinking, then Joseph Kubende rests comfortable, happy that I have been given an opportunity, I've been given a platform to influence the thinking of this society, to woo the society into being creative. And once we are creative, we are safe. Now,
you had mentioned earlier about the new task force, the task force which is on education, on excuse me, the 26333 system. How is your book incorporated in that? Is it relevant to that specific system?
Yeah, it was a godsend opportunity. When I read that report, fortunately, I was reading that report after I had written this book. It was very timely. And it's on the strength of that report that this book will be used in schools. Because the issues that I have captured here are actually in that report. My fears, some of the fears I have, what I have been sharing with you, are captured in that report, are taken care of in that report. That's why I have a lot of confidence in the Professor Douglas Odhiambo's task force. Whoever they are, I think they did a good job. I pay tribute to them. They did a good job.
So what's next for Joseph Kubende? Are we expecting another book, or you'll see the success of In Search of Gold first?
I do a lot of things. I'm doing a song. I'm preparing some music. I have a feeling that we can still entertain people by using correct language. We can still entertain people without being obscene. We can still, I'm sure you are entertained by this book, and I have used style. I have used good language. I listen to classic music. I listen to Ken Rogers. I listen to Dolly Parton. I listen to Harry Belafonte. At no point do you find them engaging in obscenity. At no point do you find them engaging in abusive language. But you feel entertained. Their music has managed to stand the test of time. If we copied, if we ate that style. One day I was on a matatu from Kisumu. This is what challenged me to want to do, after doing this book, to want to sing. I was on a matatu, and it was a Monday morning. And my principal those days was very harsh. So when Monday morning came, you dread Monday morning because you see a long week ahead. So I was seeing a long week ahead. Immediately that matatu took off, I realized I was sitting next to a speaker. And an announcement went in this form that DJ weka ngoma tumekamu kukatika mpaka che. It's a Monday morning. And I'm seeing a long week ahead. I'm carrying my tools of trade that are books. Someone is announcing on a matatu that tumekamu kukatika mpaka che. But since I'm a patient man, I sat on. Somewhere mid the journey, they made serious their threat. They now told me that, hey, you over there, hey, you look familiar. Situ katike, mimi na wewe. I discovered I was on a wrong vehicle. Because they began by saying that on that vehicle we have come to dance until morning.
Yes.
I did not take them serious. They now said I look familiar and they would like to dance with me. On a Monday morning, I said I was on a wrong vehicle. I changed. And that's what we go through each day. That's what our children go through each day. You don't expect them to be creative. You don't expect them to be creative, and we are breeding a dangerous culture. Because that's a generation that's anti-style. That's a risky generation because at the slightest provocation, they'll come fighting. So we will not need a big problem like what we had in 2007 for us to fight. A slight one, an anti-style generation will come fighting. A person who is not creative, even when you murmur behind him, he will turn, he will come fighting even before he knows what you said. I'm worried we were moving there. My humble prayer is that they implement the recommendations of the Task Force on Education. Professor Douglas Othiambo's Task Force report, because that will seek to liberate us. That will seek to see us have more time. The young children will have more time to exploit their creativity. Yeah. Then young people will not go to dancing halls. And when they get there, like we had a party, and we invited a musician to come and entertain us, and he said he will not come until we pay him 70,000 shillings. And 70,000 shillings, where I come from, Betty, is a lot of money. We had to look for 70,000 shillings. We sold 2 cows to give a pop musician to come and entertain our guests. And on arrival, he started instructing our guests to jump up. Rukaju, rukaju. I said, if we wanted our guests to jump up, one of us would have picked the microphone and told them to jump. We don't need to pay somebody to come and instruct our guests or take them through tedious exercise. So
Joseph, you're an interesting man. What's your pattern shot as we wind up?
I would like to ask Kenyans. There are quite a number of organizations that are working in this respect, to want to see Kenyans cultivate a reading culture, to want to see Kenyans creative. They want to capture it through young children. Like there is an organization called Children International. It's headed by Dr. Philemon Chebon, I think. He's doing a good job. I like what they are doing. I am a motivational speaker, and I go to schools to talk to children. I talk to young people in primary schools. I talk to children in secondary schools. And my view is that I want them to be creative. I share with them creative stories, and in that I induce creativity in them. Because once we have a section, even just a small section of this country being creative, we are safe. We are safe in the sense that then people will not fight, people will not abuse others. A child who is creative will suit in the society very comfortably. We will live at peace in this country. And the African culture, why I don't want us to lose it, like in the past in our society, and you found it in this book, that the community, children were the community's children, and everybody in the community had an eye on the children. They watched over the community's children. Like your parents, if you came home with something, if you came home with a pen, if you came home with a phone, a book, or a watch, your parent has a moral responsibility to find out where you got it. If the source does not look authentic, you will be taken back to where you got the thing. And that helped, because there was no thuggery. There were no thieves. Because if you grow up knowing that if I come back with anything, my parent will beat me and take it back, you cannot steal. And when you grow like that as a child, believing in such virtues, then you will grow up into a straightforward person. Okay. We have since then lost that. Okay. And again, in the past, adults had full license to punish errant boys and girls. One did not need to be your parent to punish you on the road if you are making a mistake. Today's society, a parent cannot punish his or her own child, even if the child made a mistake. And I think we are wrong. The African society does not provide for that. If we allowed it to be like so, then we will lose it all the same. So I do not want us to lose some very important aspects of our African culture. We should still live it. Okay. Yeah.
Joseph, thank you so much. It has been a great interview. I've learned a lot, and in search of gold, I wish you all the best with the book and also many more to come. Thank you so much for coming in.
Okay.
All right, we have been talking to Joseph Kubende, the author of In Search of Gold, a beautiful book that has been incorporated in the secondary school curriculum. He's saying that this is the book to watch. It's all about creativity. It's all about encouraging our children to go out there, be the best that they can be. Well, up next, I'll be hosting Evelyn Kerubo. We're talking about parenting in